Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a Rocky Mountain high. Get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Sunday, January 19th, Monday, January 20th, for those of you across the pond and beyond. Welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm so glad you guys could join us this evening. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and I hope you had an awesome weekend so far. And thank you so much again for joining us on one of our many outlets. You may also find us on Spreaker. Tonight we're live on Periscope under TessaTNT. You can find us on Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Tumblr, YouTube, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, as well as Podcast Addict. So tonight I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. So tonight we will be talking to and getting to know the crew of MidWest Paranormal. MidWest Paranormal has two goals: to investigate the paranormal and raise money for historical preservation. MidWest Paranormal is affiliated with Paranormal Task Force in Arnold, Missouri, and follow their model. MWP does not charge for services and do not profit from events. 12 members strong, including a mix of independent thinkers who thrive to find verifiable evidence, assist individuals who ask for their help, and offer informative, instructive public investigations in historic downtown Poplar Bluff, Missouri. They consider themselves ambassadors for the paranormal community as a whole and hope each smaller local group would. They also assess the best way that they can provide an investigation when they knock on the front door and ask permission. They attend board meetings and answer questions frankly and honestly. The privacy of all of their clients, their private homeowners or historic associations, is of utmost importance to them. They strive to foster a relationship with the public, businesses, and owners of these properties. MWP has been involved for about 5 years. Each member shares their talents and skills and is lead in the investigations they secure with property owners. They don't have titles. They respect each member is able to perform in any position: research, technology, and equipment, training, and public representative. MidWest Paranormal dreams big, and as a group, they pursue these goals with a positive attitude, knowledge, and information. They don't want to take over the world. They simply want to make their little niche a positive place where they all flourish. So, we just lost them. Here we go. We're getting them back. Okay, I can hear you guys. Hold on one second.
No, it's her.
Oh.
Are you sure she looks like Willie?
So, the members that we have this evening from MidWest Paranormal is Hunter Davis, Logan Collins, Kevin Davis, Gina Davis, and Eric Carson. And for some reason, we keep losing them. So let me try to get them back really quick. There you are. No worries. So,
Here we go again.
Let's do one of those kids.
Don't.
Here, I'll punch you. There you go.
So can you guys hear me now?
Yeah. No.
No.
What?
All right, so I introduced you guys. How about we go by one by one and introduce ourselves and tell us a little bit about how you guys got introduced or interested into the world of the paranormal.
Okay. Who wants to go first? My name's Eric Carson. I live here in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. I just been interested in the paranormal as a novice. I'm still learning.
We all are.
Yeah, absolutely. I met these guys. They did an event here at the Rodgers, which is something that I always wanted to do anyways. And when they had that going and that opportunity, I was on it immediately, as were many.
He walked in the door and filled out an application.
That's it. That's how it
and
worked.
we hired him.
Yeah.
Pays bad.
It was great. It was great. The event sold out quick, and I was fortunate enough to get in on that early.
So, Eric, did you have any paranormal experiences before that, or just partaking in what they were doing that day drew you in?
I did. I've been to a couple. My first event that I went to was the Missouri State Penitentiary, and we had a few unexplainable events there. One being they had a session where we had our backs to the cell, and something ran up on me and actually pushed me out of the cell. So that was the first time that I was like, well, that really exists. That was
right.
one of those things that you just can't explain, and you just leave it up to imagination or investigation. Yeah. So it was great, and I've had many more since.
Nice. Who's next?
Go, Kevin.
Yes, that'd be me. I'm Kevin. And let's see. Gina and I used to watch Ghost
We're
Hunters.
married.
Yeah, Taps way back in the day, and I always had a curiosity with it. And then when we had the opportunity, we went to an event with a group called Paranormal Task Force, and I heard my first disembodied voice there, and I think we were kind of hooked, and we started going every chance we got, and then we started doing things locally here, and then it just kind of snowballed into something quite a bit bigger. So that's how we got here.
How about you, Miss Gina?
My name is Gina, and that is my husband, Kevin, and our youngest son, Hunter's right down there.
He's hidden.
I'm off camera right now.
Are you? You're so cute. We make cute kids. Oh, I see. He doesn't want to knock the computer out again. I can tell you, it was like 2007. It's right before I graduated college. And the kids got us hooked on Taps. It was the first episode we saw was at the lighthouse, at St. Petersburg, Florida. You know, where the little girls are peeking over the edge. Have y'all seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
binged it. That was Fort Wayne, Indiana, and then we moved here about 2009. And we'd watch those shows, and I'd say, Kevin, I want to do that. He'd say, I do too. So for my birthday, he got me a ticket to an event that was held by Paranormal Task Force, and that was about 2013. And after we did about 4 of those, we're like, I think we can do that here. And we started looking for people who wanted to join. And that's how it came about. That's my story.
She's sticking to it.
No, I'm not. It's flexible.
Yeah.
I'm always flexible. Logan.
Yes, I am Logan. Hear me roar. No.
Now we do want to hear you roar.
No. My name's Logan Collins. I'm from Keelan, Missouri. My first time experience with the paranormal is when I moved into a 150-year-old farmhouse in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. We were told about a prankster ghost there that lived on the premises before we moved in, and they thought it was a old farmer and a little girl that used to live there. And I've had many experiences living on the premises.
And they would sick you out. They'd hear something and say, Logan.
No, but I mean, like, here's one good story I can say right off the bat. I had my dog, I had a German bred boxer, and he was coming from the kids' room, stopped in dead tracks, looking up the stairs, and straight up the stairs you could see the master bedroom, and the door was wide open, and we're all having supper around the kitchen table, and me and my dad sitting on the bench, right at like parallel where my dog's facing, looking up the stairs, and all of a sudden he starts barking his head off, and we couldn't get him to go lay down. And all of a sudden we're looking upstairs wondering what he's looking at, and the door slammed shut. But the problem with that is this door has to drag across carpet, has to be lifted up on the handle, and you have to pull on it tight. But we've never been able to clutch it like it was before. And my dad turns his head and looks at me and says, "Go check it out." And I lost it, but I loved it at the same time. And how I met them was my mom went to school with Kevin here, and she's like, "Hey, Kevin's starting up a team, and, you know, everyone has their first breaks. Maybe you want to talk with him, and he'll help you out." And I'm like, you know, I've always wanted to do this and try this, and I've done my own little things trying to, way back in the day, just get some kind of action happening around my household, but I never thought about going places with it. And Kevin wrote me back, and that's how I started with MidWest Paranormal.
You know, the funny thing is, so we're in Missouri, and we spent about 15 years in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and we come down here, and who's our first online applicant but somebody who also lived in Fort Wayne?
Yeah.
His wife is from there.
That's awesome.
Awesome. I want to interrupt. I didn't even think about first experiences, but
right.
When I was a kid, I was like, I'm going to guess about 9. I was at my granny's house, and she lives out in the woods, but her house was built by the grandparents on the other side. So it had a really great family history. And the walls were cedar, and the doors were really thick. But they laid me down for a nap, and I can remember laying there, and the door popped open. And it's a sensation now, but it felt like somebody sat on the bed, like on the foot of the bed. You know, I can't, it's a sensation.
And for me, I had a lot of childhood things that went on, but I always kind of blew them off. I didn't believe in the paranormal so much. I just thought they were like the railroad going by or something, you know, causing my bed to shake and that kind of stuff. And even when we first started, I think I was more of a skeptic than anything until until the first event we went to. And I know it took you even longer than that, but yeah, it was interesting, and it's been interesting ever since. And here we did an investigation here the last 2 nights, and there's been some crazy activity in here, so it's been different.
Yeah.
Come on in, where they can see.
Come on in there.
Yeah,
I know.
Don't knock out the computer, kid.
Don't touch the computer.
I'm back here. I guess I started really young because I accidentally watched the Blair Witch Project when I was really young.
He blames it on us.
Yeah. And I always was big into books, and I started reading the Blair Witch Project books, and that's kind of what got me into it. And I mean, I had been doing it since I was really young, using an old flip phone to record stuff in bedrooms, asking questions.
I can remember you and the neighbor boy came into the living room and are like, "Mom, listen to this," and it's an old cassette player. And I'm like, "You're not doing that in the house."
I don't know how long I was told. Even when I was a junior in high school, I was still being told, "You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be going to the graveyard doing that." And I guess now here we are, starting up the own Midwest Paranormal, getting things going down here. So that's kind of how I began doing all this.
So, what was your earliest experience? I believe it's Logan, right?
Yeah.
No.
How's it going?
Eric.
Eric. Oh, gosh. If I thought about it, so my wife and my daughter and I, we lived in Kansas City probably in early 2000s, and it was an experience of mine, but when we got home, where we were living, my wife was walking in to our home, and she opened the door, and she said she heard the most angelic voice that she has ever heard, and there was no music, nobody close to the home, nothing was going on. And opened it, and she was stunned. She was paused. She couldn't move. She closed the door and just kind of looked back at us and was like, "Hey, are you guys playing music? What's going on?" And opened the door again, and nothing was there. So that started our interest in finding out what the paranormal was. So
that kind of led to it in the early 2000s.
Yeah. What was I thinking about? Oh, Eric. Eric took his daughter for her 15th or 16th.
She turned 16 actually on a paranormal event with our friends and family paranormal task force in Missouri. That's where we were, and we had a lot of activity there, but she's into it as well. She likes it. She understands. She's not chasing. She's learning is what she is. She wants to know what's going on, not just the big show about, oh, let me chase ghosts. She wants to find out what's going on. So she's up and coming. Keep it going.
Yeah, in a few years she'll be with us on
Yes, absolutely.
So
and you know that.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just thinking, the whole ghost chasing. We get in here, or we went to a meeting the other day, and they're like, "What's a paranormal investigator?" And we kept saying words, and he's like, "So you're a ghost hunter, right?" And
Eventually, you just have to say, yeah.
I'm a ghost hunter. But even while we're here, sometimes it feels like we're chasing ghosts, but we're recording the whole time.
That's it. And we're looking for the rational explanation, first of all. And if we can't explain things, then we look at the paranormal side of it to try and figure out what's going on with that.
Do you guys use certain tools, or do you use just your intuition?
We use tools. We have A2 meters, a lot of things that measure the electromagnetism. We got one set up here behind us. It's kind of like a REM pod in a way. It will measure EM fields or static that goes by it. And it's actually went off back there a couple of times right prior to your call. Of course, there is a lot of static in this room, so we don't know if it's paranormal or not.
But we do use our intuition.
We do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot.
Sometimes we just like to turn on the DVR or sit in front of a camera and feel the silence. I don't know how many times we look up on the stage and we think, that's a shadow, something blocked the light.
Yeah.
But if we'd been staring at tools, we never would have caught that.
That's good. That's your best tool you can have, your eyes. Eyes and your ears.
And your feelers.
Yeah.
Feelers are important. So when you guys first got started with your group, did it take off really fast, or did you guys just start off with fun investigations and then work up to helping people?
We started off
It was slow.
Yeah,
it was like, what are we going to do? 3 months crawl by, and we're thinking, okay, we can do a cemetery.
Yeah.
Well,
it actually all started. Gina and I would just go to other people's events, and you'd show up and there's 30 people there, and you go out with them and you kind of watch them and learn how to do things, but from people that have done it before. And so then through some other things that we do, we started inviting some people that were friends of ours to go with us. And then it kind of just snowballed into where, let's try something on our own, and form our own group, and that's pretty much how it got going. It just keeps growing.
Yeah, our group started off pretty small with just a small group of friends, and then we got into the whole world's largest ghost hunt. And then after that, they ask you to invite people in so you can make money for the preservation of whatever site that you're investigating. And I found that every year we just gain more and more and more members. Did you guys ever partake in the world's largest ghost hunt?
We have not. I think we've had an email from them.
Well, I think it's about darn time.
Yeah.
We see it, I guess. We see it, and we don't think that we're
prepared for it or whatever. Yeah.
Like it's out there and not something we could participate in. I guess I'm thinking aloud.
We do.
Why haven't we thought of that? Go ahead.
Right now, this location here is the only location we hold public events in. We are looking at a couple other locations here because the town has quite an extensive history, and it's something we want to kind of get out there too and make this place a destination. Yeah, absolutely. Or at least a location to a destination,
part
Can you guys tell us a bit about the history of this building and certain happenings that you guys have had during your investigations?
History lady.
It was built in 1949, and it has just 2019 celebrated the 20th anniversary.
70th.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I don't know why I said 20th. But it's a National Historic Landmark. The theater that owned it built a modern one, and people started going there, and this started dwindling, and they took their screen with them. So now they're just a little screen, and they can't show movies, and eventually the county bought it for $1, and they've got this excellent board of people, and they try and draw in concerts, but because of the style, it has 3 roofs, and I can't even imagine how much that cost, but they finally got the roofs on, so the building is set. This building could be here another 200 years, without a doubt.
Well, tell them about the other interesting thing is the style in which the building itself is built.
It's called Art Modern, which is the niche of modern art, and it's built like a steamship. And so I wish I could show you. It has porthole windows on the doors, and it has curved. Not in this room. Now, this room that we're in was a pharmacy soda shop that was connected to the theater. But once you walk into the lobby, and hope maybe Eric can show us that on his phone in a little bit, but it has these curvilinear lines, and you walk into the auditorium and you sit down. Yeah, we're talking about it now. And you walk in and you sit down and you realize it's like you're sitting in the hold of a steamship. It's huge, it's beautiful. I know there are others that may be fancier in some way, but Art Modern, it's intended to look strong and new, and it was supposed to be a complete break from like the Victorian era. This is, you might call it masculine, but it definitely, I think of the soldiers coming home from the war, because the war had just ended. It was 1949. And their mode of transportation, am I carried on? You know, their mode of transportation to get back and forth was steamships. So anyway.
I feel it's a definite place that should be visited given the opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, you should be able to walk through those doors and just walk into the theater and experience, if it's nothing else than just look at the theater. It's worth it.
It's a gem.
Yes.
And it's amazing that it's here in our little town. If this was in St. Louis or Memphis, it would be more cherished.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
It started out as a stage theater, you know, and then it went to a movie theater, and then it...
It started out as a movie theater.
Oh, did it start
And now
out
it's a stage theater.
I'm dyslexic, so...
In 1992, I think one of the last movies that played here was the Titanic, and that was a big thing. A lot of us have history even remembering that here. Like my grandpa, he was a World War II veteran and back in the day, and he cried when he watched that because he remembered some of that too. And my mom took him out here to see that, and knowing that it was like one of the last shows that premiered here.
Significant.
Yeah, it holds a lot of memories for a lot of us. And
we had our first date here.
Yeah.
We came and seen Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I think you just got some brownie points.
Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. He actually remembered. Do you remember what she was wearing? No, I'm just kidding.
That's what I was going to ask. Our child is sitting there. Oh, yeah.
ain't that how you?
I know they're green because I said I would never marry anybody unless they had blonde hair and green eyes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Now that I'm gray, what do you
And
feel?
blue eyes, and you're a brunette naturally.
Well, love conquers all. So, are there any lore or tales of mishaps or anything that have happened there, or who do you think might be haunting the premises?
So, in 1927, there was a huge tornado. So, downtown is maybe a 3 square mile, and it was huge. There were a couple of thousand people shoved in that. It was a big city. And in 1927, this devastating tornado came down the street, and in less than 5 minutes for sure, it killed over 100 people. And this area was used, at the time, there was a boarding house here. And this area was used as a triage center. As soon as the telegraph went out, the Red Cross got on the train from St. Louis, and they were here. But we have that. But we had a sensitive come through last night, and she kept talking about, she didn't say bordello, but she was referencing some prostitution and high class.
Yeah.
And
He didn't know at the time, but right behind this building, up on the hill, there was a building there that was a
bordello, a brothel.
prostitution house. And that was pretty interesting. So.
And she was walking with Eric, and she stopped all of a sudden, and she said, I don't know why I'm getting this, but I'm thinking Looney Tunes. And what happened to it?
Well, it's crazy. So I don't ever feel that I sense things or anything like that or haven't. So prior to coming here last night, I was at home and I already had, so I have a background in retail and I'm a diva, naturally. I mean, I would say, so I had my outfit already picked out, and as I was going to get dressed, I said, I don't want to wear the socks that I have picked out. Something drew me to wear a different pair of socks. And the socks that I put on were actually Looney Tunes socks. And I hadn't shared that with anyone prior to us taking the tour and showing them. That was the first time that they'd actually been on site.
And she wasn't even close to you. She was like 10, 15
so,
feet in front of you.
Yeah,
She was just
stopped.
stopped.
Yeah, so there was some kind of connection there, not sure, but it was definitely strange and very interesting.
About, I'm not sure, maybe about 5 years ago, this was still in a heavy restoration time. But there were maybe 10 people, board members and their wives or something, and they were having a private screening of the movie Wonderful Life, and they took a great snapshot of this. They saw an old woman, and she was period dressed, 40s, 50s, and she walked across stage, I believe, and exited stage right, but right in front of the screen, they snapped a photo of her.
They didn't see her at the time. They didn't actually physically see her until the film was looked at later.
They didn't even know of her presence being there.
That's what I was told.
But it was a definite, an amazing picture.
Oh yeah, she even cast a shadow. Cast a shadow.
Had it been other people telling the story, so it was the police chief, the mayor.
The mayor, yeah.
And if it had been somebody else, I don't think I would have believed it.
Right. And at the time, they really had no interest in the paranormal in this building, so there was no reason for them to even bring that up or make it up. So that was pretty interesting.
And they kept the photo hidden for a while. It wasn't readily shared. But the sensitive, we've always referenced this lady, but we've also referenced the old lady. But we also referenced a woman who was jilted. We've always called her the jilted lover, but we didn't discuss this with the sensitive, and she used those exact words, the jilted lover. 23 maybe, younger, naive.
And possibly went by the name of Penelope.
We gotta look that up. Somebody had a year for one. I'll look that up.
Another interesting thing about this theater is it was quite alive during segregation. and there's an area up in the balcony area where that's where the segregation went on, and there's people tell stories about there were a lot of fights and that kind of thing that went on up there. And we've always had some type of presence up there. We've always called him Norman due to just some names that would pop up on some of the equipment at times. And the sensitive picked up on that pretty quickly, and we ended up coming up with the name Melvin.
I'm still calling him Norman.
Yeah, well, we might still call him Norman. I don't know, but anyhow, she went into. He was an African American man, and he was in his 40s, I believe, is what she said. And but it just kind of brought a little bit of confirmation to what we've been.
Because she went in blind, never been here before, and those are certainly things we share.
Yeah. It was pretty good.
What kinds of things come through your equipment as far as words, perhaps trying to tell a story of any of these individuals?
Well, sometimes we'll use an obelisk. Are you familiar with what those are? It's just a small box and it has a random dictionary in it. And, a lot of times it'll just spit out random words and that kind of thing. But when you're asking direct questions and the responses that are coming back are relative to the question that you asked, you have to kind of wonder, if that's not something that's actually coming through to you. So it's just one piece of the puzzle that you can kind of put together with other things to see, if you got just the one piece of equipment going on, it may or may not be anything. But if you got several pieces of equipment.
What was last night? We asked his age.
Yeah, 51 and 52 came through with the sensitive and Woodlow with Margaret.
We were using your app at that moment.
I use an app called Necrophonic. It's made by Keith Weldon. He tests out a lot of spirit box apps and everything, even on the Google Play Store and in real life. A lot of famous YouTubers are starting to come across it, like Host Paranormal, Oh My Gosh. Last night it runs with the DR60 sound bank, and it takes words like onomatopoeia kind of words and forms their own words and everything. And it came out saying there's certain ladies were asking the age and stuff, and it was answering them.
Yeah. So it wasn't like saying numbers all night. It said numbers when we asked.
It said an intellectual answer for what they were asking. From I even asked, usually when I start up the app, one of the first questions I always ask is, when starting up the app, is get it off from saying kind of random words is asking how many fingers am I holding up, and then it starts swapping over to saying numbers, whoever's trying to speak through it, and they'll say 1, 2, 5 or whatever. Majority of the time they'll get it right, but some other times, and then I'll ask more intellectual question than that, what day of the week it is, or all that stuff, and president. And, if I can get some kind of answer towards that, I know something is actually talking with us. But while they were messing with all that going on last night with the box, the thing I came across was they have this little lighting underneath the stairs that flickered on last night, and I asked if they could do something for me, and it flicked lights on for a second and a half, and one girl from Paranormal Task Force saw the same thing, lighting underneath my feet in the stairway. She's seen it, said she mentioned it too, saying, yeah, I seen it right over there by you, and everyone else was on the other side of the wall and couldn't see it, but at that same time, there was a chair in the audience that flipped that
Oh, that was me.
No.
What?
There was a chair, someone else out farther in the audience.
That was later, Jim. That is
correct.
correct.
And then,
When he was doing his necrophonic act, I went up to the top middle row, and I was just sitting there watching everybody. And then when I walked into the row, all the chairs were up, and something thumped like the chair had been pushed down. Margaret, the sensitive, yelled out. I don't know if she yelled out a moment before or simultaneously.
Around. She turned around when he did, and so she turned around, and as she turned around, she sensed it. After she turned, that's when it happened.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I was a witness to that.
She definitely yelled.
Yes, she.
Did you hear that?
Oh,
Did you feel that?
Did you feel that big thump? Just that?
Yeah.
We just had something just thumped on the floor, and we're the only people here, so it wasn't none of us. This place does have a lot of activity.
here it is again.
We'd love for you to come, by the way. That was an open invitation to you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wouldn't that be cool?
And to add a little bit more to what he was talking about with the necrophonic, we also had another member here that was using, I believe it's called she was using it's a physical box called a nanocom, I believe. It's made by Katie Stafford from the Ghost of Morgan City, the paranormal scientist. It's along the same lines as the program he was using, but different. But it gave the same exact information that his app was giving. So kind of, when you put all that together, it means a little bit more than just having one little piece of equipment out there that may light up or something like that. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? I know what I mean.
You know what I mean?
How many times can you say it's a coincidence?
Right. Right. Especially when it all points back to the same thing.
Yeah. So it shows that it's an intelligent spirit and not just residual.
Yes. And we had people get their clothing tugged on, being physically, touched. What else was going? They had shadows going. It was
Equipment malfunctioning, like laser grids turning off, and
batteries draining down,
draining
over and over and on.
Temperature fluctuations,
like 12-degree temperature changes. It was huge. It wasn't just little bits. And it was definitely an active weekend. There's always something going on here, but I don't know what it was about. We had storms in the air too that might have heightened things a little bit, more electrostatic in the air or whatever. But it was definitely an interesting weekend.
Sometimes we ponder, we philosophize, and it's like, if no one else is down here doing this or has done it in so many years, maybe we're just opening the door. The theater itself is not a tragic place, but the area around it has a lot.
Yeah, you think about, the 100 and some souls that perished in the 5 minutes time. What's to say that, that they're stuck in that building over there, or that building over there? Why can't they roam or find some place that they lock, where they stay? I mean, or it could be prior to this building even being here, there could be Native Americans here for all we know. I don't know. There's no
parallel universe.
Yeah, it could be aliens.
Yes, it could. Okay, sorry. Tessa, what's your next question?
No. Well, it's just very interesting, and like you're saying, I believe that spirits have free will or free agency just like we do, and you don't have to be stuck to a certain place, but sometimes you find, due to that certain person's belief before death, that they might believe in certain things that might keep them stuck there, like that's their own purgatory or place they may be stuck, and there's certain ways that we could help them by finding their story and helping to release them in whatever way that they would see fit, during their living life now in the world of death. But it's very intriguing, that there is another side. It gives us hope that, it's not just nothingness after this life. You carry on, and so does your energy.
I
agree.
So the very medium, the sensitive, we've been receiving phone calls from a lady, and she's at end stages. She's still living on her own, but it's chronic, and she knows the diagnosis, and she felt tormented, so we asked the sensitive to go visit with her. The sensitive was saying that, I know. The sensitive was saying it's a battle, and the negative was trying to keep her here, and that's why they were feeling so aggressive. But she said the minute they would turn their back, the good would come. So I like the idea of it's the good.
It's not always about, which I wasn't part of that with them. I support the team. I'm fortunate and glad that they accepted me. But it's not just about, coming and having an investigation. It's also about those in the community that feel that they need the support or help or whatever it may be, just to make them feel comfortable or get them through the night. And that's also something that Midwest Paranormal does as well. It's not just, hey, let's raise some money for historical preservation, which is important. It's also helping the community members if they feel that they're haunted by something.
That's such tormented heat. I can't think of the word, but they feel segregated. Mm-hmm. Who could they talk to?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, who wants to, call somebody and say, look, I got,
I got ghosts in my house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're kind of popular.
They're pushing me around.
Yeah.
And
this
it does
particular
seem to
lady,
happen
her claim.
Go ahead.
It does.
Yeah, it does. And when we go and talk to them or interview them, the first thing we tell them is, we can't believe that you actually came forward and told somebody
Thank you.
And we believe you, and usually it kind of breaks the ice a little bit, and then they start talking about they didn't want to tell anybody because we didn't want people to think they were crazy. And we don't think they're crazy. We know this stuff goes on. So
and the stories are so similar.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the stories are similar. But we knew the sensitive could handle it. It's not our place to do that. We don't skill yet, but that's something to work towards.
And that's the thing too with us, though, Jen. It's not just us here at Midwest Paranormal. We have that extended family in St. Louis as well. So that's a great thing that we have that support from them, that we can do things like that.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate that have helped us out. I mean, you couldn't ask for better.
Para-unity.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So
Para-unity.
That's the Paranormal Task Force. Don't.
So what day is the big day? The big ghost hunt forever.
What did she call it?
Say it, Tessa.
World Ghost Hunt? Is that what you said?
Oh, world's largest ghost hunt. It's generally in September. Yeah, right before October. We didn't do it this year. We started when they started on the very first year, so they were letting us do it for free every year, and this year they were charging it $50 per team, and you pay for everything out of your pocket doing this, and so we didn't do it this year. We were going to do our own little thing, but we've been so busy helping clients on personal accounts and such that we really didn't have the time for that. Last year was awesome. We did the Grand Imperial in Silverton, Colorado, and that was amazing. As far as this year goes, Halloween for me was the most active, spiritually Halloween that I've ever witnessed. Did you guys have anything happen this year on Halloween with yourselves? Did you notice an increase in activity?
Yes, we held our event here on Halloween, and we had 30-something people the first night, and 25. So I mean, every single person that walked through the halls in here had an experience. That's never happened before with us. That was pretty cool.
And when we say experience, it's a shadow. It's a whisper, a sound. I tell you, Eric's daughter sang. Mm-hmm. And there were 3 chairs in the front row that clanked down, or they clanked.
All 3 of them. Instead, they're spring loaded to go up, right? and all three of these went straight down at the same time, and we're standing maybe 3 feet from it, and this was right behind us, and it made all of us jump pretty good.
We should do something with these chairs. I mean, last night we went around and I don't want to tell everybody, but we did. We put some pressure on those chairs. We wanted to see what it would take to. They don't.
To make them go down, they
Right.
don't. They spring right back up.
Probably not without some form of pressure or weight, they won't move.
So there you
That's
go,
pretty
Tessa. We're quiet.
Yeah, it just seemed like a really interesting active year. Like, my mind was blown. I'd never seen so much going on all at once at one time. It was like a culmination of everything throughout my life, you know, and I was just like, holy shnikes. And I was in Arkansas visiting my sister at the time, and it was just past midnight Halloween morning. And I'm like, hey, you know, I brought all this equipment. We haven't used it yet. Why don't we break it out and use it? And we started outside with the FLIR camera and the night vision monocular. And first I saw a little girl, and then a little boy a bit older, and then a man in the back. And then over here there was like 3 Civil War soldiers. And the more you looked, the more there was. And it was just insanity. But yeah, we made a believer out of Charlie the plumber. He was just like, wow. I actually believe I'm going to change my life.
It does. It can be. Eric?
What part of Arkansas were you in, Tessa?
I was in Ratcliffe, Arkansas, just outside, well, I guess between Ozark and Paris.
It was something I was
Is it
familiar with.
northern? Are you close to Poplar Bluff when you visit your...
I don't know where that is. Fayetteville, Pettigrew,
Oh,
Huntsville, Fort Smith.
Okay, so she's over on the other side.
Yeah. Not terribly far.
Yeah, Branson would probably be the closest notable place in Missouri that she's close to.
And we're on the other side of the state.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was jumping up there just trying to see if you were close to us there for a moment, but
Yes, but speaking of Halloween, though.
Yes, Logan, what about Halloween?
I mean, Eric came to the event that night. It was a big thing for me, too, as well, when having this event happening. Him and his daughter and his wife we were all up in this room called the Cry Room here at the Rodgers. And basically go and take kids and they put them in their own room, but they can still watch the movie and hear it go on. And if it's the room where kids get loud. But we were in there, and there's 3 rows of seats in there. And daughter and his wife, and they're messing with the rods and everything. And this isn't like a 30-second occurrence from everything going haywire, but we had a laser grid that was pressed up against the back of the opening panel window movie that's out over the audience. And all of a sudden, I looked towards him. I'm like, I'm sorry, just had this occurrence going on. Does those laser grid, like the points on the walls, look like they're turning to you? And we called it off just a couple seconds, and we went back with asking questions because his daughter and his wife were getting answers as the rods uncrossed and crossed. And all of a sudden, everything went haywire in that room all at one. The REM pods, it went berserk, going as high loud as if someone was touching it. The laser grid shut off. They got this Boo Bear that talks. It was speaking sentence after sentence, not shutting up, and it's usually it wouldn't do that just during. It gives it some it usually asks for some time for them to speak, but this thing was going back to back to back with sentences after sentences, and it got pitch black. And by the way, to turn off that laser grid, like I said, we had to go over 3 rows of seats.
Step over.
The step over them to them to get to it, to even see how to try to turn it off. Plus, put our hand behind it, and you can't even flip the switch. Yeah, you had to take it back from. And then they made me check, like, if it was still plugged in. It's like, oh no,
We're like his dad. Logan, go check it out.
Yeah, but we were all just stunned for a quick second, and I was like, I had a little walkie-talkie, I had a radio in him, went haywire in here, and I don't know what's going on. So not to put everyone into a panic, I'm just like called it in. And then
it scared you a little.
It was a little. It was a little something like
heightened
something.
the senses.
It heightened everything. Like you said, it crazy for us as well.
And sold out quick too. So that was my first event with MidWest Paranormal, which it was almost like it was destiny. Actually, I don't want to be cheesy.
Because you had to get on that ticket set. Yeah.
Well, because the thing is, Tessa, is that so. The prerequisites with this to become a member of MidWest Paranormal is that perform or go to, visit, and be part of a paid event by Paranormal Task Force, and then come and be a paid event person with MidWest Paranormal. And as I entered the doors, and my money was always paid, that had already been done. I had already went to a Paranormal Task Force before even knowing this group existed. Okay, this is the family I've been looking for in that realm, So it was great, and I think it's growing, and I'm fortunate to be part of it. So
we still got like probation and everything.
Yeah. Probationary period.
Yeah.
That makes you awesome.
Well, on that note, you guys, we do have to go to our first musical break. On this break, we have Hosni Bronx, who is a Jamaican New York artist with Strong Life and Free Child. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Babylon not have no hearts. My people, you have to survive. Yeah, you must rebuild you and make your own way. You must not give up. The beginning of the revolt will start. We need to follow our true destiny. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Welcome back, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us on Late Night in the Rockies on We Are Paradox Media. Tonight we have MidWest Paranormal, and we are joined by Hunter Davis, Logan Collins, Kevin Davis, Gina Davis, and Eric Carson. Welcome back, guys. It's been great having you guys on the show so far. Oh, you're frozen. What's happening? Okay, trying to reconnect. What the crack?
What?
There you are. I could hear you, but you're still frozen. And then Logan popped in. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, there you are.
Sliding on out.
Yeah, I shouldn't
It's
have even
not
said
paranormal.
anything.
It's abnormal.
Yeah, it's happening. What's normal anyways? But I know growing up, I had issues in school with being accepted for who I was and different experiences that I had. Did any of you guys experience that? And can you still hear me? What the crack? Here, let
It
me
froze a little bit on.
yeah, let me hang up real quick and call you back. Maybe that'll help the connection. Or
No, don't hurry up.
okay, I won't do it.
If it makes it better on your end, go for it.
We'll entertain ourselves.
Right? Well, it's going good right now. Holy shnikes.
Going up across the screen, it says poor connection. So I don't know if it's just weather or what.
Yeah, does it keep saying that on your screen? Poor connection?
Yeah.
Okay. And Eric, like you were saying, if you want to send me that Skype request so we could do a walkthrough of the building, that'd be awesome too. In case we do lose each other on here, maybe that will be stronger. I don't know. But I can hear you guys still. Hopefully you guys could still hear me.
We can.
Yeah.
Eric
Okay.
sent the request.
Nice. So you guys were talking earlier about helping people, and it happens quite often that people have experiences and other people in the house don't, and now the meter's going off. So it's nice to be that voice for people, you know, to make them feel like they're not crazy.
Right.
Exactly.
I agree because, and you know, when you say that, you use that term to make them feel that they're not crazy. Because no one's going to believe them.
Or listen to them.
Or listen to them, yeah. So it's, you know, if it's just a small group like ourselves that can, I feel that with you guys as well, and just help others.
Yeah, on this side and the other. And you were saying, Logan, that you use this app on your phone. A lot of people kind of poo-poo on that. You know, I used in the past, when we first started in 2012, the Ghost Radar Legacy app, which records all the words that come through. And we actually set it in a train car called the Immigrant Car, which is in the museum of the railroad house here. And put it down, with it on, went out, set up the rest of the equipment, came back, and it told the whole story. Kate Johnson, Walter Intention death, so on and so forth. And we found out later that her name was Kate Johnson. She was a soiled dove from Alamosa, Colorado. Her boyfriend or fiancé, they were engaged, snuck her onto the train so they could elope and get married. Being she was a working girl, the brakeman found them together. A fight ensued. He stabbed the firefighter to death. She tried to move on with her life, but she felt guilty. Like, had she not been there, this would have never happened. So she ended up taking her own life, and being that she was Catholic, was stuck there on that train car until, of all things, a Catholic school class came through and did a prayer of release from purgatory, and she was gone for about 3 months. But then she came back due to free agency or free will to help Emmy, the little girl ghost, because the brakeman's there too. And I'll send you guys some pictures because they're pretty epic. But I think they do work. Like, people are like, how... Sorry, it keeps cutting in and out. How does this... Yeah, they're like, how does a cell phone app work? blah, blah, blah. But I've seen it's worked. Have you noticed anything as far as real evidence on your app, Logan?
Intellectual questions and stuff. I get intellectual. Go for it.
I'm sorry. When you were doing investigation with Eric's wife and daughter.
Oh, yes.
They said her name.
Oh, wow.
Again, it's a coincidence, but why that one name at that exact moment, even like it's Ovilus or your ghost, what was it?
Ghost Radar Legacy?
Who's not to say that they use the means available to communicate the best they can?
Yeah.
Who is not to say, I ask?
So
Right.
I did. It was the second night of our event where we had this elderly gentleman in his, and he's like, oh, I believe someone's here with me. I want to see if I can reach out to him and see who's here with me. And the guy's name was Joe. So I'm just thinking, well, it's going to be an easy name if it. Right after we got on the session, it said his name 6 times, and then he's like, well. And then all of a sudden it said, your father's brother. And then all of a sudden, he's like, wait, did it just say my father's brother? Well, it didn't say it exactly that fast, but it was swapped. Other, and then the word brother came up. And and I had to stop it with him because he got emotional.
He was, I remember this.
And he was emotional and talking to me. I was like, well, back in the war, and he,
speaking about Vietnam.
Brother, his dad's brother, and they never met, and it was just a couple weeks before he was born or something, and he's been watching over him, and that's who he thought was watching over him lately, and it kept the spirit kept trying to get out to him, and all of a sudden he told me a story like right afterwards, and I was like, wow, I was one of my first events of paranormal here with the group and stuff, and started using this app.
Did he come by himself, or did he have family?
Yeah,
his granddaughter came with him, and yeah, she was.
So maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe.
Big skeptic, and this necrophonic app, I didn't. The guy Keith Weldon has a couple, but this one's actually.
They come up with some strange names.
Yeah.
Names, I'm telling you.
But also, back with Eric here, his wife, later that night we were in the back room and started asking questions, and like
skeptic. She's still even.
Okay, I want to stop that, and it laughed over that app, and it was like,
Poor wife.
yeah, she freaked out and left, and I'm like,
Maybe why she hasn't come back.
Yeah.
but honestly, and it's brought attention. I never brought anything home with. I can promise that. So usually, I say the Lord's Prayer before coming here. At home, because my wife would kill me if I brought something home. But I've had a lot of emotional experience using this app. I've had a lot of experiences of intelligent conversations. I've had things happen around me when this app's been used. Yeah, with light. Left and right, just, hey, did you see that? No, I'll just.
So too, what we'd like to say is, Keith, if you're watching, please.
How do you feel?
We're breaking up really bad. So I'm thinking we might just call Eric's phone and then do the walkthrough and then try to get back on this.
Sure. Yes. Sure. That'll be great. Did you get my invite?
Yes, I'll call you really quick on there. Let's see what happens. Ding, ding, ding.
There we are. You have us all?
I don't see your camera on. Did you click on your camera?
Well, yep. Come over here, Hunter. Oh, there we go. I'm Master Technician. How about that?
There you are. Hello.
Hey.
I guess we'll turn the lights on in the theater itself, I guess, as we go through, because I don't know if we'll be able to see very far with them off. But
yeah, I think you'll enjoy what the theater looks like. Oh,
that may be static for us.
Yeah, that might be static being so close.
I am going to grab my jacket.
So
Kevin's,
the first room
yeah.
you're in, by the way, was the Soda Pop
Pharmacy.
And I'm going to turn it around, and I hope that I don't make anyone seasick or nauseous or anything. But we'll just give you a view of the room itself. It's just first before we do that. Now you've got to get that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Who painted that?
Gina painted that, actually.
Awesome. You have an artiste on the crew.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go upstairs.
Oh, here we go. All right.
For those steps.
No, why don't you lead in order to show? Do you want to do that?
Oh, sure.
It's
right.
outward, so
And it's showing, yeah. She's
So don't put my fingers on the camera thing again. Okay, I got you. All right, so let's go upstairs, and up here you're going to see we'll show you the top side of the concrete dome that's in this building. It's pretty unique, and it's kind of a floating thing. And I will turn lights on as I go here. You got to find them. There we go. All right. And this was basically the pharmacy used this area here to store stuff. And you can see some of the old bottles that are still in here. It's pretty dusty up here, but I'm hoping you guys can see this. It's anybody got a flashlight on them to shine down in here? You can kind of see the rebar a little bit, but that's the dome that goes over the main entry when we walk into the theater. So when we go in, I'll show you the dome from under the underside, but this is the top side. It's called a floating concrete dome, and it's probably one of probably 5 anywhere left in the country. It's a pretty wild thing, but I thought that was interesting. Up here, some of the experiences we get is you'll hear, it sounds like people walking with boots on wooden floors, but all the floors are concrete, and there's nothing above us but steel rafters and more concrete. So where the wood sounds come from, I have no idea, but it's pretty wicked when you hear it. And he's bringing a flashlight up, so maybe we can get a little more light on this dome thing.
So you said it sounds like someone walking around up here?
That's me. Yeah. Oh, that was Eric walking up, but yeah, it does sound like somebody walking up here with walking on wooden floors, but there's no wood up here to walk on. It's all concrete. I don't know if they can see that any better or not, but anyway, I just wanted to try and show that to you before we go down to all the good stuff.
Did you guys look at the history of the property to see if there was something built there before to make sense of the wood floors? Yeah,
there was. Prior to the theater being built here, this location had a, what did she call it?
It was a boarding home.
A boarding home here. And then that building was moved in its entirety, and it still exists down the road here just a little ways, so they could build this property, which was quite a feat, I guess, back in 1949 to move, an entire building like that. But let's see. All right, so we'll go on out to the theater here. So I'll show you. These are the front doors where you would have entered, and you can see the porthole type windows that are in it. And
Classic.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And outside, that was the ticket booth. So when you came up, you actually bought your tickets out there, and then you waited here at these doors for these doors to open, and then an usher would bring you in. So it was a pretty neat thing. Yes. Here, I'll let you carry it.
And you can.
There we go. Now I'm up here. Okay, so I have to point.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah. You can see the doors here. Yeah, like you said, you see the
porthole windows, and it's a pretty neat building actually. The concrete dome that I was trying to show you from upstairs, this is it from the bottom side, and you can kind of tell when you stand back in here and look around, it looks like like part of a ship, that all the curvature walls and just the way it's designed, you kind of feel like you're in some type of a ship in a way.
Very rounded.
The big open spaces in it. And when we go out to the theater itself, you're going to see that great big open space. Back behind the concession stand here, there's a small room where the workers would work. And over the years, they wrote on the steel beams, and they talk about the Phantom on there a lot. Like, I'd stayed and cleaned all night with the Phantom, or, the Phantom visited me and they dated, and it's pretty neat to see that. And we've talked to some of the employees that lived here or worked here, and they would tell us, stories about the Phantom, and they believed that, there was like they called him the janitor or whatever, but they would actually run into him every now and then, but then he would disappear.
And this was full body apparition.
Yeah, full body
not
apparition.
Just, full color, everything that you would run into here.
Did they say what he was wearing?
Yeah, overalls, like blue colored overalls. And we still see him every now and then. When the first time I ever came in this building, I was over in the pharmacy side where we just came from, and there's a restroom off of that. It's just a single restroom. And I seen this guy walk in there, and there's no place for them to go inside there. And I waited. I had to go. And I waited. Nobody ever came out. So finally I go and knock on the door, and the door came open, and there's nobody in there. And at the same time, when I got done, I came back out to this room to talk to Gina, and we were hollering for the person we were supposed to meet here. The door was open. We let ourselves in. And she had actually talked to the Phantom as he went out and around into the room that I was in. And so when the guy showed up just a couple minutes later, he said, "How'd you guys get in here?" I said, "Well, the door was wide open. And we came in, we were hollering for you, and we met the janitor." And he said, "What janitor? You know, there's nobody here but us." And it was really an awkward moment. You know, we didn't know what to think of it. But, we don't know if it was some guy off the street came in or if it was an actual spirit or whatever.
But the door was open.
Yeah, the door was wide open, and it should have been locked.
Yeah, and a lot of times people see and, speak to apparitions and don't even realize that it is. They think it's a real person.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's going to get dark a little bit, Tessa, while we're entering the theater, and then we'll get...
No worries.
This is the upper balcony of our wonderful home here at the Rodgers.
So up on this side up here is what they call the cry room, and that's what Logan was talking about, where they had all that activity. And that night it seemed like most all the activity focused up there, and in the projector room that's up there behind that last wall. And over on this side is where the segregation area would have been. They had so many seats that were designated for that, and that's where they said there was always, fights and stuff breaking out up there. And the door that goes into the projection room up there, now I've yet to witness this, but the lady that first brought us into this building, she would tell us that door would open and close on its own all the time. Up in the projection room, we've had quite a bit of negative type feelings, and just really, there's a real Debbie Downer up there.
There's definitely something that makes you not want to be in there.
And also Norman, the guy we were talking about earlier, Norman, or maybe now
Marvin,
we'll find out it's Melvin.
Or Melvin, yes.
His seat is up there in the middle, top row, about 2 over. That's where, and another interesting story about that is we found out that there was a man that had a heart attack here and he died. He didn't die in the seat. He actually died out where the ticket booth is at, when waiting on the ambulance to get here. But
it all happened here.
Yeah, it all happened here. And people, when they sit in that seat, we don't tell them that story, but they'll start talking about having chest pain or shortness of breath, all the symptoms that you would have. And it's pretty interesting. And then when we tell them the story about that, then they kind of freak out a little bit, but it's something that's pretty common that happens up there. You want to go down?
Yes, sir.
Last night, down here, it's about in the middle of the center section here. There's always been a spirit or a feeling or whatever it is that hangs out, and we think it's female. And last night was pretty active. We had people sitting all around it. Their chairs would get shaken. That's where Gina had the experience of her
Mhm.
chair actually going down when they should be up. You know, you can see, you look around, they're all up, and except for this one's down.
Oh, wow.
Oh, well, yeah.
Happens to be the place I chose to stop too. But they're spring loaded. If you bring it up, you see they go up on their own. But and putting them down, it takes some pressure to get that to go down. And this one actually sticks down. But most of them will spring right back up. But you can put them. You can come in here and put them all up, and inevitably walk back through, and you'll find certain ones that'll be down.
There will be something down, yes. Now, if you'll stop at row K, Kevin, we can talk about what our medium from last night.
And look, the seat's down.
Are you kidding me?
No, it's down.
Sorry, that's just a reaction.
Oh, no worries.
So this seat right here, this is K7 at the Rodgers. This is where our medium from last night actually sat before knowing anything about this location, sat and said, "This is her seat," is the comment that she made. And this is also the seat that Gina was sitting in last night. And over here, well, actually, Kevin, that's seat 8. So 7's right here. Where Gina was sitting was right here. This is where everything was, where the shaking was happening was on seat 8. So there was a lot of activity right here in this area last night, Tessa. It was crazy, and I've got cold chills right now. It's coming up my back. Yeah, so.
You feel the energy.
Yep.
Up here on the stage, you know, we try to, when we come in, we try to bunch the curtains up a little bit so we have contrast. So you can see the black of the curtains, and then you can see the gray on the back of the stage.
Let me get closer too.
And we do that on purpose because you can sit out here and just sit quietly, and you'll see the shadows dart back and forth across that gray behind those curtains. It's crazy. You know, they look like full-size people, and they just go from one side to the other really fast and never make a sound.
I'm not sure how clear it is with it being dark, if you can see the gray in the back or not, but I just wanted to give you a view of the stage.
I'll go up there. And,
Yeah, you can faintly see it. A little
Okay.
panel back there and stuff.
Kevin's going to enter up onto the stage.
on this side of the stage, at the exit that goes back to the dressing room areas, when we were here, we had one person was holding a K2, and the K2 is just absolutely going nuts. And he says that his hand is really starting to get cold. So we got out a thermometer to read the temperature, and the temperature dropped. It was a good 12 degrees, wasn't it, Eric?
Yes, it was 12 degrees precisely.
12 degrees, just almost instantly.
That's me stepping.
He said he felt he could feel fingers, like cold fingers, touching his hand as well. And then later on, that was it the same evening or the following evening?
I know it's when was it Margaret that had to?
Yeah,
that was the last night. Yeah.
But we had determined through what we were doing over there that whatever it was couldn't have been over, so high. Well, then Margaret comes through the following day. Is it Margaret or Dana? I can't remember, but one of them. It's been a really long weekend.
Yes, it has.
Anyhow, she came through and said it's a little girl spirit over in here, and she didn't know any of that had happened. We hadn't told them that story at all. But she said it was in that area, and it just all came together. It was kind of interesting for us to hear that. Up above here, we've never been allowed to go up there. It's for insurance purposes or whatever, but there's a catwalk. And the employees that worked here had all told us if we ever get the opportunity to go up there, that's where they had just a lot of different experiences up in that area up there. And I know for a fact during our event, I came up here and just laid down on the stage and stared up above. And there were some people out in the audience about where the roquet is. And then there were some people behind stage back here. And this is a solid concrete brick wall back here before you get to the dressing room areas. And we heard the people in the back screaming about something going up the wall and over the top of the wall. And as they're saying that, I can see something coming across up here. And then the people that were out in the seating in the around row K started hollering that it looked like something was coming down toward them. So it was really neat to get that feeling, like it was like doing a wave at a ball game or something. It started over there and you can actually physically see it go all the way across.
Does that help any, Tessa, with just seeing the brick background?
Yeah.
Okay. And where Kevin was talking about was...
It's over here in this corner. You can see the catwalks up here still. Right, straight up there. You can see the wooden planks. And it comes up and all the way over. That's a good 30 feet or so up there. And even last night we kept hearing noises up in there?
Yes, absolutely.
You want to go around to the back? Or
we can do it if you want to.
This place going through here.
Yeah, this is our where we
get the chills every time and start shaking.
I mean, I'm man enough to admit that I can get creeped out still yet.
Shows you human.
That's right.
We had a newspaper reporter come here, and her son plays concert pianist. So he came and he sat down and played some piano music for us during the event to try and generate some activity. And while doing so, there was a coiled up extension cord that was sitting on top of the piano. And nobody was around them at all, but they seen that coiled up extension cord lift up and then set down on the floor. And she wrote about that in the paper, her experience, and how she was a skeptic before she came here, because she also got her hair tugged while she was up in the projector room. So that was kind of a unique thing to have a newspaper journalist come here and write up a story about her experiences while at our event. It was pretty cool. This room we're going to go into up here is, this was the old, they used to use coal to heat this building. And this is where the coal chute would come in, and just right off of that is what we call the dressing room. And we always get a lot of activity here, and people feel a strong sense of dread when they go in this area.
I feel it before even stepping in.
Mm-hmm.
The temperature in here is just drastic when you walk in. It's pretty intense. Last night we had a lot, and I'm going to tell a story on myself. Over on the opposite side, we were sitting there, one of the sensitives was down there, we're trying to get the SLS camera to work, where it maps the people out, look like little stick figures. And we had been in there for quite a while and hadn't heard the sound yet, but the wind picked up outside. And upstairs was a storage room, and one of the windows had been busted out. And they had put styrofoam up in there and had it taped in. Well, the wind would blow that in and then suck it back out real fast. So it would slam as it went back out. And but all you would hear was that swishing sound as the styrofoam moved against the brick. So we heard that, and we didn't think much of it at first. Then we heard it again. So I pulled back the curtain and started looking up the stairs. And while I'm looking up there, as that styrofoam would come in, the light would, come with it, come in through the window with it. And so I'd see that flash of light and then the boom sound as it got sucked back out. So we're standing down there starting to freak out over it a little bit. And me and another investigator standing there, and she says, why don't we go up there and check it out? Here, you go first, So I sucked it up, mustered up my energy, and started going up there. And I just knew a mannequin or something was going to jump out at me. Finally figured out that, that's what it was. But it scared me. But we were able to debunk the sound, and it sounded pretty legit to begin with, but it just kind of...
So not everything that you hear is going to be something, but there are things that will communicate with you. But
this room in here, we call this the keyhole entrance, but inside here, we've had people touched, actually physically slapped pretty hard. it was the dressing room, and still is for when they do plays and stuff. They have their costumes in here. And
There's a mirror in here, so if you see any reflections, there's a possibility.
behind this wall here, what we found is there's and we'll show it to you as we go around, but there's a huge, like electrical station, and it's old. It's as old as the building is. And some of the fuses in there are probably almost as long as from my elbow to the end of my hand. And but you do get a lot of EMF that bleeds through this concrete here. And when we first came in here, we couldn't figure out why are the K2s just going crazy when you set them down in here. But then later on, we figured out that that huge box over there still has electricity going through it. And we were picking it up in here. But it's kind of also made us believe, that all that EMF that's coming through there is maybe affecting people too. So some of the activity that happens in here, it may be due to that instead of actual paranormal activity.
So there's a really high EMF in this room?
Yes. Yeah, real high.
Very high.
Have you guys pinned it down to anything like a power panel or anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was trying to explain. On the other side, I'll show that to you when we go over there. It's a huge, it's probably since 1949, a huge panel over there. And let's just go over there and look at that.
Yeah, that could feed all kinds of things, and including entities, but for sure it can cause you to feel paranoid, like somebody's watching you, so on and so forth.
And you'll probably hear it as you walk through here, like a low hum sound.
And I'm trying my best with the lighting, Tessa. Apologies.
Oh, no worries.
If you can shine your light over here, Eric, this whole panel that he's looking at now, that's probably 4 feet thick. And then there's a concrete wall on the backside of it that goes into that is the actual wall the EMF is going through to get into the dressing room that we were just in. But this thing's, ancient, but there's still electricity that goes through it. And right behind you, Eric, if you can shine your light up there, you'll see some of the old fusing and the way the electric. Yeah, it's so a lot of what happens back here, we really have to pay attention to see, is it because of all this electricity or is it actual, something paranormal?
Or it could be connected.
Yeah, it could be connected. They could be using, the EMF off of here to actually do things with, using it as a power source.
I hit 20% too, just so everyone knows.
Okay, we'll hurry. This is just the back side. It's the other side. You can go down to get on, I guess, stage left or stage right, whichever. But right down here is where the temperature change and the K2 and all that stuff was going on. And the little girl was supposedly what was causing that.
This section right here, this threshold.
Right here. And it still feels a little colder here.
Yeah. There's no vents, fans, or anything right here. And this is a high active area
and last night,
for us.
She said that it looked like there was a shadow that came from here and went right out that wall. And beyond that wall is an alley. So there's really nothing for it to, it's not like it's going into another room or anything. It would have been going outside. So really, without taking you up into the projector room, which I don't really want to do it with the battery going down on your phone. That's probably best we don't. But this is pretty much the theater here.
Here's your good shot. This is our paranormal home, I guess you would look at, Kevin. But
yeah, it looks pretty large, for an older theater.
Oh, it's huge. This thing is massive. And inside these walls, there's actually crawl spaces, and you can walk upright through the walls to get from place to place. And we didn't show you back here, but there's a trap door in the floor between those two dressing room areas that you can go down about 6 feet, and there's a tunnel that runs from there, and it goes all the way up back behind the concession stand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know what the original use was other than maybe it caused a draft or something to help keep the actors cool while they were in the back, or maybe it was for a heating purpose where they pumped hot air through it or something. I just don't know. But you can almost stand upright in it and walk from the backstage area all the way up to the front concessions. Maybe they used it for magic tricks and stuff. I just don't know.
Could be, or running food or water or whatever back and forth.
Sure.
Possibly.
Yep.
Yeah. I know as soon as you open the trap door back there's an old mannequin head laying right down at the bottom of the ladder. And if you don't know it's there, it'll scare the crap out of you.
Yeah, that's creepy enough.
Yeah.
And this was built in the 1940s?
1949.
Nice.
But has a lot of history. The land itself has a lot of history prior to that. So everything that went on here, which, emotions were, and laughter, sadness, everything with the shows and the plays and everything that went on here created its own memories. But the things that were here beforehand also were stuck and stayed and just offered much to this area.
I'm just about everybody's familiar with the Kling brothers, but one of their theories is that, the older buildings especially, that we all have feelings and emotions, and whenever you go into a place, if you can imagine the thousands and thousands of souls that came into this building and left this building and have passed since, all those emotions, the laughter, the sadness from watching movies, it's all absorbed into the walls. And one of their things that they like to do, they call it the Kling yell, and they just take a moment of time and they yell as loud as they can to create vibration to try and shake that emotion out of whatever's there, because you don't know where it's trapped. And that's pretty cool. We do that here sometimes. Sometimes you get responses, sometimes you don't. But it's a neat, it's a neat concept if you think about it. And they explain it like a record. You can see the lines on it, but you can't hear the music. It takes something that has to vibrate around that vinyl to get the sound to come out of it. And so they say the Kling yell is like using a needle. You're creating sound waves to vibrate the walls to make the sound come out of it. It's pretty cool.
Have you guys ever tried trigger objects or trigger music, anything like that from certain periods to try to draw things out?
Yes, we did. At the event when the reporter was here, her son was a concert pianist, and he played period music that night. Of course, we used the Boo Bear a lot as a trigger item for children and that kind of thing. We used it up in the cry room tonight. It just went crazy up there. We did a haunted tour of the downtown area one year, and we had people dress up in period clothing. We actually have a history of a female serial killer here.
Oh, wow.
And we had her walking the streets that day, and people had, experiences with that. People would take pictures and that kind of thing and find, orbs, if you believe in orbs. So, those things, they do work, I think.
Yeah, I think they do.
Should we go back up?
We'll make our way back. Yeah, we'll make our way back to the command central there. We love this place, Tess, so we invite anyone that's interested to reach out to MidWest Paranormal and talk to us about that.
The original chairs of the theater, these are the only ones that are left. But we do have them, and they keep them here so people can see them when they come in. But these were the original seating from 1949, still in use here.
You can get the full experience.
Yeah.
That's awesome that they kept those.
Yes, that's great. And, there's many people that have sat in those seats, and they have their own stories to tell.
I'm not sure when they replaced them with the seating that's in there now, but looking at the architecture, the actual seating that's there, I would say probably sometime in the 60s is when the seats that are in there now were put in. Maybe even as late as the late 60s.
Yeah, I love the old classic theater doors.
Yes. Yeah. That was awesome. All right, we'll make our way back in there, and we might need to try to reconnect back to Midwest Paranormal so the battery doesn't die, but I don't know when break time's up. But
let me see. Oh, we're coming right up on it, so that's good timing on our part.
No, we're pros.
Well, thank you guys so much for the tour. And on that note, since your battery is going down, I will go ahead and go to our second musical break. And I did turn my lights off because I had a sort of like a flare going on my screen. People were mentioning that, so I turned off my lights. But now I can see what I'm saying as far as our break goes. So for this musical break, we have a prime example, which is a Milwaukee group with My Inspiration, as well as Tracy Cruz, who's from Oakland, California, with Emotional Love and Flowers and Candy. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this musical break.
When you smile, I see the life in your eyes. I hear the rhythm of you, creating moments we chill to. Wrapped in the waves of emotion, it's imperative. We're making love to your mind. It's like the feel of your thighs on my back when I'm deep in consummation with you in the room. It's not the scent of your breath in my face when we touch and share the rhythm of a loving embrace. It's your smile that lets me know I'm on point, that I have rewritten the word in this joint, and it's you. Pretty brown eyes and confidence, you're my ministry, and girl, I'm feeling it. Come on, so smile for me, and don't let my hand go, girl. I just want you to know when I'm sending my love to you in verse 2 with a kiss and a beat that you and I can step to. Come on, God created the heavens and the earth. What he saved is very best for the day of your birth. No longer is it just me, myself, and I, but since you have arrived, you're the apple of my eye, girl. Open your heart and let me come inside. All this love is forever for the ride. And when that DJ played our favorite song, we dance the night away until we're heading home where we're holding you.
When I met you, my life changed. Your love rained all over me. It was blissful, so special, essential. Life poetry, true beauty. We created, we made it. Reality, pure affection with expression. Our connection was meant to be. You make me feel so good inside, like therapy for my mind. You make me feel so good inside. It was like flowers and candy, understanding how you're standing really must be love. I'm talking true, I'm talking real, and I felt it in my heart. It was like flowers and candy, understanding how you're standing really must be love. I'm talking true, I'm talking real, and I felt it in my heart and soul. You make me feel so good inside. You make me feel so good inside.
Now what is this that's happening? I don't even know you anymore. Oh, yeah. Changes moving through every day. Yeah. And I don't even know what we're fighting for.
Our bright days turn to sleepless nights. Our loving ways have turned to endless fights, and we can't seem to compromise. We try so hard to make things right. Yesterday, we'll erase all pictures. Can't we turn back? Hands on side. You are my life.
Now what is really happening? Yeah.
Changes are moving through everything. Changes.
Welcome back, y'all, and thank you so much for listening tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies, and I kind of went south there and pulled a y'all. But we are joined by MidWest Paranormal, and right now we have Kevin Davis, Gina Davis, Eric Carson, and I believe we have Hunter hiding there somewhere. Welcome back, guys, and thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Hey, thanks.
We appreciate it. Hope you liked the tour.
That was awesome.
Oh, sorry. I'm here.
Yeah. I was just saying that was awesome. Like, that's a first for me on the show as far as taking a basically virtual tour through your guys' stomping grounds. And like you said, this is your paranormal home and where you guys host and take people on hunts. So that's a pretty awesome. I feel very, very honored and obliged that you guys took the time to do that.
Well, thanks for letting us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, did y'all go behind the stage?
We did.
Really? Nice.
We had to flashlight it and everything. It was dark back there.
Okay, so we were talking about things under the umbrella of the paranormal, and I had just seen the other day, Missouri has a very high rate of sightings as far as UFOs in the past and in recent day. Can you guys tell us a little bit about UFO sightings? Have you guys witnessed anything like that?
I did. I know you. No,
I can't tell my story.
Resist
okay,
that.
I can't tell my story.
Well, sorry. So in 1941, before Roswell, we had a UFO crash in Cape Girardeau. Have you ever heard about this?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have that.
It's like 70 miles, 75 miles roughly from here. And it's pretty fascinating when you start looking into that story and some of the things that people claim happened during that time. And then to hear about Roswell, which happened 2 years later, and the parallels between the two stories. It's pretty
military involvement. But they called a priest out to give last rites.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
There's some depictions of what that might have looked like. There supposedly was a photograph taken at the time, and then people have, tried to draw it and paint it and recreate it over time. And but apparently there's a picture out there of two people holding up an alien body and a priest administering last rites over this body.
In 1973. Elsinore?
Yeah, Clearwater.
Well,
up in that area.
It was Elsinore and Mill Springs. Simultaneously, it was a school bus full of basketball players coming home from a tournament game that they had lost. And that incident probably went on for 20 minutes for them. They even pulled over and watched it in a field. But simultaneously, a woman, Mill Springs, how far is that?
About 10 miles from where they were at.
Reported the same thing. And then after that, the Clearwater Lake, everything just skyrocketed. I mean, people were so interested. One of our members, well, they're sisters, they said their parents they would go up to Clearwater Lake and that they had seen something. I've asked them to write it down, but I haven't seen it yet.
No.
Here in Poplar Bluff, the doctor that delivered both Kevin and myself, he was a UFO enthusiast, and I can remember as a kid seeing a huge write-up in the paper about him. And that kind of legitimized it, but people still made, they still made fun of him, but everybody loved Jerry McClain, didn't they?
Dr. McClain, that's right.
Crazy old Jerry. But it's insane, it gives it some sort of a backbone or whatnot when it's somebody that's higher up in the community that's witnessing this, and people take it more seriously than if it was just like Joe Schmo or whoever else. So it's awesome that he came forward, even though he got a little backlash from that, and people talking, which they do in small communities and stuff. But it's cool that he came forward and shared his story.
It's like the photo at the Rodgers, all the dignitaries there, Poplar Bluffs, and I had to quote who they were, the positions, so that the story would be more believable than had Kevin told a story.
Yeah, and people, when they tell their stories, whether it's about ghosts or about UFOs or whatever, they sound so far-fetched to somebody that is a non-believer or skeptic, that's the reason you don't hear about it that much. People don't want to tell it because they think they're crazy. It's like Gina didn't want me to tell my story because
I tell your damn story if you're going to keep blaming me for
no, it's so off the wall. You know, it's so strange that it becomes unbelievable. You know, I mean, how could that even possibly happen? So I understand why people are reluctant to come forward with their stories because of that.
Well, yeah, and one of our listeners on Periscope, he goes by the name of Bag of Nuts, but he says the government will do anything to destroy a person's credibility in order to keep their secret safe.
Hey, that's coming out now. I mean, before it was still a joke, but it's since the Air Force released and what did they say? They clarified that they didn't know what that videotape was of the fighter pilots. You know, it's going to be harder for them to fight.
Well, everyone's becoming a part of wanting to know what the unknown is. Like the plan that I can't remember, wasn't very long ago where they were planning, we're going to stage out in
Area 51, storm it.
They were doing that. So it's becoming easier to tell stories. Still, you're still getting
the television shows have been such a catalyst in creating interest and getting people started, or at least opening up their ears to be accepting to what's going on. You know, I think that's such a neat thing.
But you know, anthropology-wise, the sad part of that is people are delving into this and they're more interested in this because reality is becoming harsher.
That's true too, yeah.
So
it's like their escape.
Exactly.
Well, and it seems like today more and more people are coming forward with different sightings and gifts and so on and so forth. As far as the paranormal UFOs, we were also talking about Bigfoot a little. It seems like people are being more and more open-minded. I don't know if it's that or the veil is thinning. I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm hoping that the government will finally come through and say, hey, this is really happening, instead of keeping it from us like we're a bunch of kids. And I know, were they to say certain things, some people could run around like chickens with their heads cut off or whatever, but I could handle it. I'm sure you can. And I think the History Channel is trying to help us as far as a whole to accept it and kind of put it in our minds and be able to, you know, make the wheels turn and know that it's real. Like, it's been happening since the beginning of time. There's different depictions on ruined walls and pyramids, so on and so forth, that show alien craft. Even ancient paintings, you see, you know, the Mother Mary holding Jesus, and you see these alien craft in the background. It's like very intriguing.
Leonardo, Mona Lisa. You look up there, I think it's above this shoulder. There's a little alien spaceship right there.
Well, and we talk about, you know, as a community at nationwide about having an open mind, but why do you say it about one thing and then you tell everybody to close your mind to something else? And if you can do open mindedness 100%, then everything should be out there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I think the intuitiveness. I think that people. I've seen such skills that just blow my mind. You know, when you're growing up, a movie like Firestarter or the book Firestarter, everybody's like, poo-poo that. But you see somebody up there, I don't know, identifying things that you have said but never said to them, that you said 2 years ago.
Right. Well, it's like, even going back to just the ghost paranormal or spirit paranormal, we have a friend that is in PTF, and she's what they consider an expert in the Exorcist case. She's done so much research and everything else that went on with it. And when she starts talking about that, even for me as a believer, it's like, man, that's hard to believe, you know. And
it's not hard to believe her.
Right.
It's hard to believe the dang story.
The story, the actual things that happened. You know, it's beyond comprehension, I think.
And for those that are listening, and for yourself, Tessa, too, and I'm sure you know about it, but the Exorcist, as Kevin mentioned, was based in St. Louis, Missouri. That whole deal happened there, and our friends and family with our group in St. Louis. They were a big part of that, even when Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters and stuff came down to talk about that. So it's something that they're very knowledgeable of, and we're fortunate to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we get to learn from some people that have got some amazing experience. So,
but the research and the follow through. I mean, they spoke to people that refuse to speak now,
Yeah.
and there's some stuff that certainly scarred the lives of many people.
Yeah, and a lot of people fear that if you talk to it, it gives it power, or it can come back into your life and ruin it, basically. So they kind of keep, closed-mouthed about it because they don't want to see it again. It was so horrific.
That's some scary stuff.
But I could be mistaken about the source, but I read that the Catholic Church has reported that exorcisms have been on the rise in like the last 10 years, at least the last decade.
And that goes back to the mill thing,
Yeah, I believe that because not too long ago, the Catholic Church came out with exorcisms, not only in Latin, but in every other language. And I think it is because it is on the rise, so anybody who has nuts enough to go out there or is crazy enough to go out there and mess with demons, I won't. I'll call somebody and say, hey, you need to come deal with this. But if somebody wants to do it and they feel that they have the power to do it and they're able to handle it, they could just read it in their own language. They don't have to learn Latin and what exactly this means. They can do it in their own language, and I find that very awesome as far as growth. We can all now do it, but very nice of the church to actually do that for people and know that there is a need for that.
Well, may I say something? Screw Area 51. Let's call for a raid on the Vatican. Now, that's a place that have hidden secrets and tormented people.
Sure. I believe it, yeah. And we'd never stop you from saying something, Gina.
We're all scared, that's why.
Speak of demons, we don't mess with Gina.
Right? You're like, that's almost like a possession on its own. You can't stop her.
The Catholic Church has no exorcism for me.
Right? There's no words for her. But there are things that they do that I do agree with. And I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. But I know as a kid, I sought out religion. And I visited different denominations. And even when I was in the Marine Corps, every church is like right there at the tip of your fingers. And so you can go to any church you want to and learn. And I think everybody's got a little bit of the truth. But nobody's got the whole truth. Like, they all want to tote that we're the only true church, this and this and that and that. But I believe in St. Michael. I use that prayer when I need. I have a cross that I wear. I don't have it on right now. I don't know why. But different things that you have faith in, that you believe in to protect yourselves. What do you guys use for protection when you go out or after investigation?
I use my ancestors. I believe I'm watched and cared for.
I kind of just, I'll say a silent prayer. I grew up Catholic. It's pretty much all I ever knew. I don't practice Catholic anymore. But, I believe, my own personal belief is the church goes where I am. So, I don't need to go to a building to be able to pray or speak, So I kind of do it privately and quietly to myself.
That's kind of how I am. I grew up Southern Baptist, so there's a lot of stories out there about, Southern Baptist, sin on Saturday, repent on Sunday. However, I just believe that the Spirit, just Jesus and whoever maybe is always with me. So I do a protection prayer. I do it when I enter. I do it when I leave, and I do it all in Jesus' name. So that's just how I present it, and I feel free. I don't ever feel threatened when I do any investigation with that belief.
Well, you know what? We better not ever catch you dancing, Eric. I'm just kidding.
That's why I'm not Southern Baptist.
I wish I had dinner last night when Logan was
yeah. Logan was dancing last night. So that was
and you missed it.
Yeah.
You don't got pictures, you don't got video, it didn't happen.
That's right, it didn't happen.
And that's when it always happens.
Yeah, I'm a recovering Jack Mormon. But yeah, I do believe that every church has a bit of the truth, and if we all work together instead of chopping heads, and that's kind of like paranormal unity, para-unity as well.
Right.
If we all work together, we can get so much further than if we sit there and cut each other's heads off or cut each other down. Like, work together. But I do believe in Jesus. He's my big brother, and I love him. He's amazing. But there's so many things out there. As long as you have faith in it and believe in it, it will protect you. If you're using something and you don't have a degree of faith in it, it's not going to work for you, really.
I agree.
I got to throw in that I believe in living a good life and trying your best never to hurt other people.
Well, Jesus,
what happened there, Tess?
He's the greatest comedian, right? You really think about it. You look at the world today. I mean, it's
a
he's got a
platypus.
sense of humor. Yeah, I mean, right.
But yeah, it's like Eric and Kevin. Like my church is like in my kids or in the forest or wherever I find it. You know, where I find peace. Like I feel like when I go to an organized religion, there are people that are scoffy and looking down upon you, and it makes it not an enjoyable experience. So, you know, I prefer to do what I do. And like you said, Gina, you do unto others and you do the right thing. You know what's right, so you do what's right and try to live your life that way. But we also talked about on break Bigfoot. So we have Bigfoot all over the world. What are some Bigfoot experiences there in Missouri?
Well, they had a sighting of the blonde Bigfoot at Lake Wapapello, which is just minutes away. And then...
Momo.
Momo
is Bigfoot. It got its name from Missouri Monster, and they just shortened it down to Momo. But it's Bigfoot, pretty much.
Our version. Some people have a swamp ape. We got Momo.
And we have such a large area of forest around that's protected forest too. So
it's deep.
It's deep. You can go
National Forest.
Yeah. So there's plenty of places. We have deer. We have elk. We have
and that's something else. Is in the 20s, white-tailed deer almost went extinct in the state.
Oh wow!
Except for the area right around us. And I keep thinking if the deer could still survive, that would be, I don't know, you could follow them to see where a possible Bigfoot might be able to continue.
Well, feral hogs are a big problem down here now too. So, I mean, that's another food source. So there's just so many things that are here that would lead to that. I can't think of the word I'm trying to get out, but
the possibility.
There you go. The possibility of him being here.
And that's what it's all about. It's all about the possibility, right?
Yeah. And even if he didn't live here, he could have a migratory trail.
Mm-hmm. Follow all the rivers. That you think about. That's such a diversity for him too. Is fish.
Well,
we got plenty of that around here. So.
The freshwater aspect too,
And it'd be like a map for him. He knows it's there constant, so he can follow it and follow it back to get to the place he wants.
And they
to
have to be intelligent.
Yeah, I would think.
And you would think, like, animals can, they find it instinctually, but it's in their DNA. Like, antelope will always go towards Mexico and then back on their migratory trail. I don't know.
Just thinking out loud.
I am. Yeah. It hurts sometimes.
Yes, it does.
Well, it's interesting because here in Colorado, we went up to Rico to the Enterprise Bar and Grill, and we did a paranormal investigation there. But we also have a security service that we do. And a year or so before that, we were up on an old mine, and they were taking out the old contaminated water and putting them in tanks, and people used to go up there for target practice. So that's why, or how we came in, because they didn't want people shooting these tanks and this contaminated water to come out. And we'd be there all night, all day, on different shifts, and one night there were huge boulders being tossed down from the side of this mountain. And we have a friend that works with us, Johnny. He's a black Cherokee dude. And he's like, no way, dog. I ain't leaving this truck. No, I ain't going out there. And it makes you think, because, like, you could hear the deer and the bear and, little pebbles and stuff falling down. But they're not going to throw boulders down the side of the mountain. And so I went up there to see if I could get tracks, and then we went down for lunch, and, you know, I did get pictures. They're hard to see because it's kind of gravelly up there, but I marked it with rocks, you know, at the heel and at the big toe and stuff, so you could see it a little better. But we're telling the story down at the Enterprise as we're having lunch, and this mother and daughter said, well, we go out every morning, we smoke, we have coffee together, and up on the other side of the valley on this mountain, there's a clearing in the aspen trees, and they said they saw an albino Bigfoot walk through, and it really didn't take that many paces because it was so large to get through that opening. But they were both, like, baffled. I think it's acceptable to think that there are albino Bigfoot because there's albino humans, snakes, like other things out there. It's a genetic anomaly. But it's pretty interesting, and it makes you kind of think of Yeti, you know, on the other side of the world over there.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that only makes sense.
That's fascinating, too, that just about every place you go, they have their version of the same thing, you know.
And there's not necessarily just one. You know? There's many. It has to be.
And Native Americans, they have their folklore.
Yes.
So, do you think the Bigfoot would have been throwing the boulders to hurt you, or just because it was like a game?
Warning.
I think it was, to get out, because that was his area. He's used to people going up during the day and hiking or, you know, shooting or whatever, but we're sitting there day and night for months on end, and I think he's getting tired of us, you know. He's like, get out of my woods. But yeah, I think he was trying to get us out of there, trying to show that he does have power and whatever, but we didn't really ever feel a threat. Johnny was really freaked out, but it was really intriguing to say the least.
Neat stuff. To say the least, yes.
Yeah, neat stuff. That's it. That's the reason, you know, when we talked earlier about how just the whole conversation of different things that aren't explainable and people making fun of it, I think it's more that people are just afraid to experience. You know, that's their defense mechanism, is to make fun of it and instead of be a part of it, right? You know, go out and try some of that. Just be a part of something instead of just immediately, you know, poking fun or...
Our boxes are comfortable.
Yes, right. Yes. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, and like you're saying, everybody's kind of in their own little bubble, and some people just want to work and go home, and they don't want to deal with anything else. Like, all this other stuff they could really care less about. They don't want to take the time out of their lives to even entertain the thought. But to me, fact is stranger than fiction. There's so many things that I've witnessed that you can't make up. Like, you can't make this stuff up. And it's just very amazing, like, the world we're in and the different things that we can experience if we do open our minds up to it.
Yes. I mean, some people are fans of the Chicago Cubs, and I have no understanding on how they can be fans of the Chicago Cubs. Sorry to the Cubs fans out there.
Oh, now you got the haters on us. Thanks, Eric.
Or the Patriots.
Yeah, right. Come on.
I'm about to say Michael Vick, but you just stop.
Yeah. She's like, we'll just stop there. But yeah, it is interesting. The world of the paranormal, it just covers so much. And we're talking about aliens. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to comment on that. It's not important. I didn't have anything really meaningful to say there. So
everything you say is
meaningful. It's your world. Yeah, that's it.
It's your show. I want to hear what you have to say.
I'm very, very young in this game, for lack of a better term. But it's just so interesting, and it brings people together that wouldn't normally. I don't know that I ever would have met y'all.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for this, and I think we're getting along pretty good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we got a good group. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better bunch. We got 12 people now, and we got some more that are wanting to join, and we're gonna have to put a cap on it.
Yep.
Because, but everybody pulls their weight. You know, everybody has responsibilities when we have events and when we go places and do things, and everybody does such a good job at it. You couldn't ask for better, and we all get along good. So, I mean, it's perfect, really.
Except for us.
Do you guys find that your group is very diverse? You have different people from different backgrounds?
We can say that, But then again, we're a microcosm. We're a very small town, and so we're still drawing from this group of people. So
we have different age groups for sure. And
Yes.
different beliefs there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I find that diversity helps in different situations. Sometimes you go on an investigation, like we had one where they said they had fairies attacking their home. And I was like, wow, I believe in fairies, but I have not the slightest clue how to deal with it. But we have a couple druids and other people in our group, and they're like, oh, well, that's easy. Just give them milk and honey and toast and blah, 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 and make them a little area, and they'll be happy, and just, do that every week or however often. And I would not have known what to do, That's over my head.
See, it's going to be a while before people who really have that kind of diversity. I think we're all free thinkers and are willing to look outside, but it'll be a while.
And I think we're opening the door up to Poplar Bluff.
Yes.
I think we're making way, and that's where we have to start. We can't do anything except here to start out with, but with the different people that we've been able to present to and everything, it's opening the minds up a little bit to, hey, there might be, something else.
We concur.
We go on trips too. We have fun with that stuff. I mean, we do all kinds of things. Like coming up soon, we're going to Waverly Hills and going to do an investigation there. That's going to be a blast.
Pythian Castle you just recently went to, and
we're going out to Joplin to speak with some people out there for
Paranormal Science Lab in Carthage invited us to come out and learn about their documentaries that they present, in hopes that we might do something here at Rodgers. But how nice is that?
Yeah, I mean, people open up to you, and pardon me.
Pardon me.
You got choked.
And I did really good. I think it's awesome that, I think because there is a lot. We were talking about last night the paradrama that's out there too, on top of the para-unity. And it's all about who you surround yourself with, I think. If you can keep the drama people off at bay and surround yourself with the people that are awesome, then, your experience is going to be 10 times better.
I think that's a lot of
you'd hope to have that in
at
all
other groups who, I don't know. I've met some really great people on social media. I've had none of that, and I don't know how to sum that up. You just start talking to people. I don't know. How do you sum that up?
You put those great memes out there, Gene. That's what it is. MidWest Paranormal.
Well, it is cool too, because we are in the era of technology, and it's so easy to find groups everywhere and to connect with them and see the different things going on. I'm trying to see the map of the United States in my head and see how close are you guys to Kentucky?
About, I don't know, it's not that
It
far.
take you an hour,
15
minutes or so to get into the border of Kentucky. So not far. That's Paducah. Paducah's probably an hour and a half to give.
We sit, if you know what Missouri looks like and where the Boot Hill is, they call it the Boot Hill of Missouri. We're right at the very top of that in the corner. So Arkansas is about 30 miles south of us. Kentucky's, like he said, about an hour.
Tennessee, Illinois.
Tennessee, Illinois is right here. Oklahoma is, across the state from us, but it's still only 200 miles away. Then you get
and Colorado out there, right on the other side. We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
Amanda lived. One of our members spent her childhood in Colorado and really loved it.
Yeah, it's amazing the different things going on there. But as far as Kentucky, what comes to mind for me is the Kentucky Goblin, which I experienced something like that on my granny's farm in Pettigrew, Arkansas. And so when they came out with this whole little mini-series that they're doing, my interest was piqued because everything I looked for online that even slightly resembled these little critters that I saw on my granny's farm was like the Kentucky Goblin, except for their eyes didn't glow, unless, like an animal reflection of light or whatnot. But do you guys have anything like that in your state? Anything other than like the Bigfoot and UFOs and the paranormal? Do you have different cryptid things running around there?
We have people that claim there's chupacabras.
Well, I'm wondering the chupacabra and the goblin could be something very similar. But White River, which isn't that far from here, which that's actually Arkansas. I don't know if that.
It's about middle of the state, really, going down.
They're supposed to have a monster in the river.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's a big monster too. It's not something small that can get by all the time. You'd spot it if you've seen it. Do you know what it's called?
I think it was the White River Monster.
The White River Monster.
They're not very original.
The big fish-looking thing in the water.
Like a fish man
I'm
thing?
Yeah, it's like a fish, but it's huge,
Monster
and
fish.
it's a monster-sized fish, and it's been a more about it than I do, but it's been I don't know, a folklore for a long time.
Oh, and the giant birds. Oh my gosh! Now, who hasn't looked up and thought they saw one of the giant birds?
I think I have at one time. But I've seen eagles too. Out in the wild.
We have eagles here,
and possibly maybe that's what it was back then when you thought they were all extinct or at least going extinct. So I don't know.
I think the natives call them thunderbirds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget what they call them here, but it's always been part of the folklore.
Pterodactyls.
You just wanted to say the word, didn't
People
you?
have actually reported those.
Yeah. Since the Southern days, it's here for sure.
Yeah, and go ahead.
They find stuff all the time that they think was extinct, and they still find species of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you wonder sometimes. Could these things actually still exist somewhere that we just don't see them, or they learn to stay away from us, or whatever?
I don't know. Phoenix. Is there a method that they can hide without flying? Anybody wants to help me with this? I mean, could they live on land longer and not need to fly as much?
Right. Yeah.
I know there was a big case in Illinois in the 80s. How could they be big enough to scoop up a person and still go hide?
That's true. That all goes, when you start doing the what if with it, I start thinking about the whole evolution. When I talk about, we used to be fish, and then we became alligators or whatever, and then all of a sudden we grew legs and started walking and talking, and the whole thing. So, if you can evolve from that into what we are now, who's to say that some of these other things aren't out there?
They're making life adjustments to live in the human world and remain hidden. It's not biologically changing, because they say DNA can change within a generation. So you could get remarkable changes.
Yes, due to different happenings as far as the paranormal or anything that you encounter as a human changes your DNA in one way or another. Even going into space, people's DNA has changed. Like different things that we're subjected to changes our DNA. So that's interesting. But it kind of brings me to the thought of the Mandela effect, and like you were saying earlier, different, what was the word you used? Realms, basically. Different realms colliding, I think you were saying, Gina, or different, I almost had it and then it went away.
We're all having that.
Like parallel universes?
Yeah, parallel universes, like colliding. Different things that certain people remember and then other people have no idea of. And it changes repeatedly and rapidly, and it makes me wonder about CERN. Is it what they're doing over there, or is this just naturally what's happening in our world?
Oh, that's a fascinating idea.
Pretty fascinating.
I don't know. That's one area where scientists would get on board, but I don't. It can never. In my little brain, I can't imagine that could ever be proven.
Yeah.
And it's like the government's never going to give up UFOs, so why are they going to tell us what they're doing with their parallel universe research?
I don't know, too, because, we say, well, maybe it may never be proven, but it's the same way with ghost hunting. You can go out with all the scientific equipment in the world, have all this evidence for people to look at, and if they refuse to look at it, how's it going to get discovered? You know, so.
Oh, I'm sure
if they-
somebody's looking at it, or they're performing their own experiments.
Or because you don't have the PhDs and, you know, all the doctorates or whatever.
You gotta have letters behind you,
Yeah,
right?
you're not getting taken seriously over it. So, I don't know. That's
And people often bring up the scientific method. How do you do paranormal investigation and use the scientific method? They always talk about having a sterile environment, so on and so forth, and repeating different exercises and getting the same outcome. It's virtually impossible because every story I've come across in the spirit realm can be similar, but a lot of times they're so far apart, and that's what kind of makes it interesting, is figuring out these different stories. But how do you scientifically prove it, especially with this equipment we use? It's all labeled for entertainment purposes only.
Right. And you never know when they're going to happen. You know, just because you're in a place that has a lot of activity, it doesn't mean it's going to happen 5 seconds from now, that where you got all that stuff over there to be able to measure it. You know, you might be in a room by yourself with the lights on, and all of a sudden somebody walks up and says something to you that don't exist.
And how many times have you heard that? That somebody said,
yeah,
I saw that man in the fedora, and everybody's like, he wasn't there.
A majority of the people that are saying it doesn't exist, whatever it may be, have never at least opened their opportunities to walk through our doors,
right?
Let alone any other door to experience what might happen,
right?
You know, so what gives them the right to actually say that something doesn't exist when they haven't even given an opportunity,
right?
So,
you know, as far as scientific method, we don't know, general public, really what the government might be doing. And look at the advances we've had. They've inserted frog DNA into little healing robots for humans. Now, I thought we'd have flying cars and a cure for cancer. I saw that on the news today. You know, we still need a cure for cancer, but who knows what they're doing in other fields.
True, yes,
Things
absolutely.
keep advancing.
Well, and supposedly they do have the cure. They just don't want to share it because then the monetary stuff goes out the window.
The medical industrial complex. That was sirens.
I know. Let's go chase that ambulance. Ambulance
Turn out the
light. We're not here. We're not the droids you're looking for. Wow, I hope everybody's okay.
Top Bluff's finest right there.
Yeah. Oh, another one. There's three. Boy, sun's going down.
That guy was going to go
Was he? We're back. We're not doing anything.
We're playing, so go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, no worries. I was just listening.
But exactly on the medical, the cancer, there's certainly alternatives in some ways to treatments that are received now, and I'm sure that there are pharmaceutical industries that don't want things to change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you don't have medicine to sell to people.
Well, it's like UFOs. You know, if you don't have full disclosure, there's always going to be conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't understand or are not educated on what people are doing in the medical field, you'll form your own conspiracy theory. You know, I'm not saying that.
You know, my minor is in art history, which is the history of human beings. And sometimes I'll watch Ancient Aliens and I'm like, that's not right. They know how the pyramids were built. And if people aren't, there are too many fields to have to study, but if people aren't being aware of, that's pretty base knowledge.
Yeah.
So there we go.
And then you always get influence, you know, everything else. So.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like just the other day, I saw a guy make a recording, and he didn't want it to be put out until he was on his deathbed, basically, because they receive so many threats. When you are in the military, if you share any of this information with anyone, we will not only come after you, we'll come after your family, so on and so forth. And so people don't say anything until they are on their deathbed or they feel like they're out of the way of harm or whatnot. And I just still don't understand why they don't want to let us know, because this stuff has been happening since the beginning of time. We live on this planet. We should be privy to what is going on in the air or on the land or even underwater. They call them USOs, things that UFO craft that are underwater.
I think we get that privilege by paying taxes, right? That's
no,
true.
Yeah. Voting
on things that we own already. But anyway, that's a different story.
Yeah, it's funny how people that are running for president always say, well, I'm going to find out and I'll let you know. But once you are president, then everything changes. You can't really go that route. But I'm hoping disclosure's coming soon and that it's good news.
Right. Which I was going to ask about this earlier, and I've read it someplace, but I can't remember who it was, and I'm sure there's more than one. But was it Switzerland or England that just did full disclosure on UFOs?
I'm not sure.
I remember that being, I can't think of the place. Tess, can you? There was a full disclosure country
recently, and I can't remember where it was, but I thought that was pretty fascinating. And maybe that's.
But then, was it lip service? Oh, this is full disclosure, but you're never going to find this closet back here.
That's right. Yeah, you don't know.
Well, and it does seem like the Catholic Church is always the first to say, yes, this is real, yes, this. And they did actually come out and say aliens and UFOs are real and they do exist. And then people started to follow under suit after that.
All the world's secrets are held in the Vatican. We need to go there.
I don't know. They probably got that place pinned down better than the White House.
Well, they got a wall. Just saying.
Shut up. But, yeah, the announcement stuff. So the Vatican says they believe in UFOs. This country said they were going to do full disclosure. The announcements are made, and then it dies. And since people aren't watching over there, they're watching over here, they get by with it.
Sliding in this direction.
Well, we are almost at the end of our time, and I can't believe it. It's gone by really fast. Yeah. Are there any things that we haven't talked about so far that you guys would like to touch on within this last 10 minutes?
My son being single at 28 years old.
Don't do it.
Congratulations.
Ain't that right? He's doing what he wants.
He's hitting off screen, so it's okay.
I'd like to firstly thank you for allowing us to do this, and
it wasn't easy scheduled.
No, right, and I think Kevin and Gina are on the same boat that we welcome anyone. For sure, we'd like them to check us out at MidWest Paranormal on Facebook, but hey, hit us up, come down. Missouri's a great place. Don't listen to everybody else that talks about misery. It's not that. Missouri's beautiful. Poplar Bluff's great. We've got a lot to offer. We'd welcome anybody. April 17th and 18th is our next event.
Yes.
Our paid event. Tickets will be on sale later, but just check us out. We can at least make the night fun.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Or we can open the doors and serve you a little food.
Yes, absolutely.
The rest is up to you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Correct.
A little
we offer people an opportunity.
That's it. I can bring my air fryer in.
Right? I haven't used those. How exactly does that work? I'm like, how does the air fryer work? But I heard you do put a little bit of oil in it, right?
You don't have to put any oil in there. You just spray it with some oil spray and good to go. But you can look Eric Carson up on Facebook too. I can give you all kinds of recipes and stuff.
And fashion tips.
Yes.
Hey, I wore my alien socks tonight. You can't see them.
Yeah, you got some pretty cool boots on too. I saw those earlier. I was like, dang, she's styling and profiling. But I'm so grateful that you guys did come on the show, and I did find you on the Facebook, and I'm so grateful that I did. And for you guys to do a walkthrough with us and show us your paranormal home there. And anybody who missed it, if you go to Periscope under TessaTNT, you can review this whole show and be able to do the walkthrough and see exactly what's going on in there. Even the chair down. Did they tell you about the chair that you sat in last night and what was going on in that area tonight?
It was the only chair that was down
chair
in that row.
It was down.
Really?
In row K, chair 8, yeah. So it was right next to 7. So where was Amanda's sister sitting?
We left that one alone. I was on this side, and they were down this way.
Okay. Well, chair 8 next to whoever seat 7 is that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Nope.
so,
They didn't tell me.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
We
pretty
were
cool.
so
They're like,
excited.
no way. Yeah, it was super cool. And that's
Love
the
the
first
goodie.
for me. Like, I've never been on a virtual tour on this show. And for us to be able to show it on Periscope, that was very interesting for sure. And I can't wait to... I do want to go there someday. I'll take you up on your offer, Eric, and go on a tour with you guys someday. I can't say when. But it'll be somewhere in the not-too-distant future.
That'd be great.
Awesome.
Yeah, it'd be
Doors
great.
always open.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and if you guys
Lights
ever
are
come out here to Colorado, definitely look me up. And there's places out here that you guys would love to see as well. My favorite being the Railroad Museum. There's so many spirits in there. It's amazing.
I'd love it, personally.
A lot of souls went through there.
Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Consider how that was the mode of transportation.
Yeah, a couple of the ghosts there are actually this couple, and they kept some of the old seats like they did there in the theater, and they keep them in a certain area, and these two particular seats are always down, and people have heard someone say, hey, that's my seat, and they'll turn around, nobody's there, but that's where a couple has been known to sit. Then we have Kate, the soiled dove. We have Emmy, the little girl. We were trying to figure out what her story is, but the brakeman was there, and every time we try to talk to her, he'd come in and start cussing and bullying and whatnot. But then Kate came back to protect her, and then there's another guy named Legs, and his event was unfortunate. He actually fell off the train a few blocks down and got his legs cut off, and he tried to crawl back to the train station and ended up dying from blood loss. But they actually see part of him walking around looking for the other part of him, like they're going different directions, and they have some footage of that, but very active place.
Wow, that sounds cool.
Yeah, be good.
Road trip.
Yeah,
I like it.
Mhm.
We'll be there.
And there's a
Call
lot
ahead.
there's a lot of other places like Mesa Verde and, you know, the old Indian ruins and petroglyphs that actually show, you know, what the natives saw, which they have UFOs and alien beings on these rock walls that they depicted, I don't even know how many years ago. But there's a lot of amazing things going on down here. And I know back east in what we call the South or the Bible Belt or whatever, there's a lot of activity down there too. It's just kind of a plethora of activity all over the world.
Suddenly going on or just now being talked about?
Yep.
You know, I've been to La Junta, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only place in Colorado I've ever been. Are you close to there?
I think we're like a few hours. That's, I think, more to the east and north, right? It's L-A-J, I almost said you, L-A-J is how you spell it?
Yes. Yeah. And it's it should be pretty close to the New Mexico border.
Okay.
What's the deal? It's just a nice place.
It's, well, that was a lot of Native American in that area and a lot of culture and history through there. That's why I was asking, you know, what she talked about.
Oh, is that in the San Luis Valley?
It's possible. Yeah, I couldn't tell you. It's been a long time since I've been there, but
Yeah,
I just remember it was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's like a cornucopia of all kinds of activity over in that area. And we're actually going to do our very first outing for We Are Paradox Media right outside of Alamosa at the UFO Lookout Point. We're going to do that for our first year outing, and then we'll go bigger from there. Somebody was saying, let's go down to Arizona where they have all these vortices and such. And I'm like, let's start small and then go bigger each year instead of going big and then going smaller. And you know what I mean? Yeah. But it'd be cool if you guys could come out for that, or any time. Like I said, just hit me up, and I'd love to take you guys out, and I'd love to take you up on your offer to hit your guys' grounds. So do you guys have a website, or are you guys just basically on a Facebook page right now?
Just Facebook. And we're Midwest Paranormal with the I.
Oh, let me get this in real quick, Tess. Okay. So that's it right there.
Oh,
that's awesome. So you came up with the whole logo and everything over there, Miss Gina.
Yeah. It represents a lot, right? Curiosity, knowledge.
All seeing.
No.
You look at everything.
There you go.
No.
And I'm so glad you guys are out there helping everyone on this side and the other to find some sort of sense or peace. And that you guys found each other and you have your own little paranormal family going on there, and that you guys could look to each other for different things happening in your life or out there in your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We thank you for having us on and giving us a way of at least getting, something out there. So
absolutely.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed having you guys on, and your hospitality was very, very nice. Like I said, that was a first for me tonight, going on that little virtual tour, and that was very awesome to say the least. So, the Facebook page that you guys can go to is MidWest Paranormal. MID and the W in West is capitalized. And I do recommend you guys go over and check them out. Again, Gina, Kevin, Eric, thank you again so much for being on the show tonight. I really do appreciate you guys being on.
Thank you.
Look forward to meeting you.
Yeah.
And thank you to all of our listeners on We Are Paradox Media's Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Periscope, iHeartRadio, and wherever else you may be listening beyond the Omniverse tonight. I had a wonderful time this evening, and I can't wait to do it again next weekend when we have the Paradox Paranormal Forum, and that's where a group of us get together and talk about anything under the paranormal umbrella. And then we have Cosmo Paranormal from India, so that's going to be interesting. I hope I'm able to translate. Don't forget, you guys, we're all in this together. Together we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. And if you'd like to join us on the Skype after party, look me up and send me a contact request at tessa.n.thomas30, or give us a jingle at 1-970-335-9596. Until next time, nighty-night, love and light. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and don't work too hard this week. And we'll see you back here, same time, same place. Take care of my yous.